So let us begin. Let me share the screen first. So this is where we stopped last time. Okay, last time we looked at how you write chapter 3. Okay, and we just did some parts of chapter 3, like the way you can see them here. We managed to tackle 2 items, and that was research design and target population. Okay, so we finished all of them. So at the moment, let us proceed and we go to something else. Let us go to sample size. Okay, let us go to sample size. Now, for sample size, we have different types of methods that we use to determine for sample size. Okay, but the most common ones are 2. So I'm going to call method 1. This one is Solven's formula. Okay, and then we also have method 2 for sample size. Let me see, sample size is 3.3 sample size. Okay, so this is method 1. Then we also have method 2, which is Morgan's table. Method 2, which is Morgan's table. Okay, so these are the most common methods that we usually use whenever we are determining sample size in our research. Okay, method 1 is solvent formula, and method 2 is what is Morgan's table. So those are the only methods that we have for determining sample size. Okay, so let us start with method 1, which is solvent formula, and this is the most common one. Remember. Okay, so if you want to use this, we are not going to apply the other structure of ours. Remember, I told you that when you are doing chapter 3, you apply this structure. Okay, but on sample size, we don't apply this structure, because I told you that this structure applies on most of the items in chapter 3, but not all of them. Meaning that there are some items where we don't have to apply that structure. The structure I'm talking about is this. You start by stating the item, you define the item, you explain the item, and then you give a justification. Okay, so that structure is applied on most of the items in chapter 3, but not all of them. Okay, so let us start with, let us go to sample size where we don't apply that structure. And then we're going to say that sample size will be determined by using Solven's formula as indicated below. Okay, so this is what we are saying. We are saying that the sample size will be determined by using Solven's formula as indicated below. And then after that, we are going to indicate the formula. Okay, we are going to say that the formula states that. Okay, we are going to come here and then we indicate this formula. We're going to say that small n is equal to capital N. Then below, down here, you're supposed to say is it 1 plus capital N, then in bracket. And in bracket here, we are going to say E squared. Okay, so this is the formula that I was telling you about. This formula was developed by someone called Solvin. Okay, and that's why they call it Solvin's formula. Okay, small n stands for sample size. Okay, capital N stands for target population. Okay, and then E, small e, stands for margin error. Some people, they call it level of significance. It's fixed, okay, which is always fixed at 0.05. Now, this formula here that you can that you see here, that you see over here, it was developed by someone called Solvin. Okay, that's why we call it Solvin's formula. Okay, that's why we call this formula Solvin's formula, because it was developed by someone called Solvin. Okay, and this formula states that small n is equal to capital N divided by 1 plus capital N in bracket E squared. Okay, where n stands for small n stands for sample size, capital N stands for target population, and small e stands for margin error or level of significance, which is always fixed at what? At 0.05. Okay, so let us substitute in this formula and then we calculate and come up with our sample size. Okay, so we're going to say equal to, let me just copy this again, and then we substitute in our target population is how many? How many is our target population? Our target population is 240. You can even see it here. Our target population is 240 because I told you that target population is an estimate. So we are going to put 240 here, even here, we're going to put 240. Okay. And then here, we're going to put 0.05. Okay. So that when you substitute in here, then you're supposed to calculate and come up with the sample size. Okay. So we have substituted the symbols here as capital N. We have put target populations. The same applies here. Then you put what? Margin error, which is fixed at 0.05. So after substituting in, where did I get these ones? 240 is our target population that we talked about yesterday. Because I remember telling you that our target population is an estimate. It's not like total population. There is total population, there is target population, and sample size. Okay, target population, that is the total number of people you are targeting. Okay, and since this is the proposal, you have not yet gone to the field to carry out research. Therefore, you estimate because you don't know the people that you're going to meet. Okay, but you have to estimate the number that is reasonable. Okay, you can't, the number that you are going to use as your target population should be at least above 150. You can't use a target population that is less than 150. You can as well use it, but the results that you are going to get are not going to be so good. So that's why, especially when you're doing masters, your target population should be above 150. It's a must. Okay, so in this case, we're using 240. So when we substitute in our 240 here, 240 here, 0.05, and then we calculate, then we're supposed to come up with our answer. Okay, so up here is 240. So how do you calculate these ones? Whenever you're calculating these guys, you have to start with the things that are in brackets. Okay, I don't know whether you know this method, body mass. You remember this, you must have started it in primary or secondary school. Okay, you need to start with B, which is brackets. So start with the things that are in brackets. So we're going to get 0.05 times 0.05 because that is squared. Squared, you get that number, you multiply it by that number 2 times. Okay, so that is squared. So what we are going to do, we are going to, let me bring my calculator. If you want, if you have phones, if you have calculators, you can do mathematics. You'll be able to find out that 0.05 squared is 0.0025. Okay, I'm going to remove this square because we have calculated. Okay, so after doing that, you are going to calculate this, and you get this multiplied by this. Okay, let me show you on my calculator here. Okay, we are going to get 240 and then multiply it by 0.0025. Okay, so how do you do that? You're supposed to, let me open my calculator here and then I show you. You're going to get 0.0025 multiplied by 240. The answer is 0.6. So that means that our answer is what? Is 0.6. So getting all of these, we are going to put 0.6 here, and then all these should go away because we have multiplied all of these ones to get 0.6. Okay, then after that, we're going to say we are going to get 0.6 plus 1. When you get 0.6 and you add 1, it becomes 1.6. So let us get 240 divided by 1.6. Okay, so let me go back to our calculator and then we see what you get. 240 divided by 1.6. The answer is 150. Okay, so let me cross here and then we go back here because we've already gotten the answer. So the answer is how many? Is 150 respondents. Okay, therefore our sample size is 150 respondents, and that's how we get the sample size. Okay, any questions, guys? If you have any questions, please ask me. Okay, if you have any question, please ask me. So this is the first method for determining sample size. So we have 2 methods. There are so many, but the most common ones are 2. We have method 1, which is Solven's formula, and then we also have method 2, which is Morgan's table. So method 1 is the one that is most common. Okay, most common one and most recommended. Okay, then we usually put most recommended because most supervisors they prefer this method. Okay, but we also have another method, which is method 2. But this method is a little bit tricky. That's why most supervisors they don't like it. Okay, but of course I have to show you so that you know it. Just in case you want to use it, you just adapt it. Okay, so for method 2, of course, I'm going to copy it from somewhere else. Let me see if I can get it from here. Let me see. Just a minute, guys. I want to see whether I can get this method somewhere else. Okay. Let's have it here. So you can get it here. Yes, I've gotten it. So let us continue. So this is another method which is called Morgan's table. Okay. Now, what is this Morgan's table about? Morgan's table is actually a table that was developed by 4 guys. Okay. And then even copy it and put it at the end of the work. Okay. It was developed by 4 guys. I have it here. Okay. Just copy it. And then I put it here. So this is the table that I'm talking about. Okay. This is the table that we call Morgan's table. Okay. Why do we call it Morgan's table? Because this table was put up by 4 guys, and one of them was called Coolidge. There is Robert, there is Morgan, and there is also Nye. But this table was developed in 1970 by these 4 guys. But out of these 4 guys, the table was named after who? After Morgan, because the names of other people were difficult to pronounce, so they called it Morgan's table. But Morgan is among the 4 guys with whom they developed what? The table. So this table is used for determining sample size. How does it work? It has 2 columns. It has a column for capital N, capital S, capital N, capital S, capital N, capital S, capital N, capital S, capital N, capital S. Okay, capital N stands for population size, or study population. That is what it stands for. That is capital N. Then capital S stands for sample size. Okay, meaning that if your target population is, let's say, 120, then your target population will be automatically 92. Okay, if your target population is 60, then your sample size will be 52. If your target population is, let's say, 3,000, then your sample size is how many? Is 341. So that's how this table works. Okay, because these guys just calculated the sample sizes for respective target population. Target populations. Okay, so that's how we use this table. There's no need of calculating. Just come here, look for your target population. If it appears here, then that's when you can be able to use this table. For instance, our target population here is 240. So if you are using 240, therefore the sample size should be 144. Now, are you seeing that there is a problem? Here, when we calculated, we got 150, okay, in method 1. But when we use table method 2, we get 144. Why is it like this? It is because our capital N is target population. So when you go in the line of target population, you can see that a target population of 240 will give you a sample size of how many? Of 144. That is how it is. But now, why is it that here we have 144 and up here, this method gave us 150? It is because these 2 methods are totally different from each other. Okay, these people, they if you use this method, then you're going to get 150. If you use method 2, then you'll be able to get what? You get 144. Okay, so that means that the 2 are different. Okay, these 2 methods are totally different from each other. If you use method 1, then you are going to get 150. But if you use method 2, then you are going to get 144. And both methods are correct. Okay, so what does this mean? It means that if you want, you can as well use method 1. If you want, you can use method 2. But both methods are correct. Okay, so it depends on what you want to use. But most supervisors, they usually prefer method 1, which is solvent's formula. Okay, so after that, we are going to draw like a small table, and then we're indicating all these items. We're going to have items, target, population, sample size, sampling techniques. Okay, so we're going to have categories here. We're going to have target population here. And then we are going to have sample size here. We are going to have sampling techniques here. Okay, so just do like this. Now, who are these categories? Now, the categories that I'm talking about are the ones that we listed under target operation. So under target operation, we talked about top authorities of Salama Bank. We talked about human resource officials and other employees of the bank and bank clients. So those are the ones that we are going to mention here. We have top authorities, Salama Bank. We have human resource officials, the bank, of course. We have other employees, other bank employees, and we have the bank clients. So those are the 4 categories of respondents that we are going to engage. Okay, so we have top authorities of the bank, we have human resource officials, and then we also have other employees of the bank, and then lastly we have the bank clients. So those are the categories that we have. And remember, our target population, our total target population is 240 because we have already seen it up here. Okay, our target population here is how many? Is 240. Okay, so that's why I'm just putting it here. That's the total is 240. Okay, and here our sample size is 150. I'm going to use method 1. Okay, so how do you get these numbers that are supposed to be up here? Now you have to distribute them, you have to estimate the numbers here, but you have to be realistic. Okay, you don't just give numbers, you have to give appropriate numbers. Okay, so how many top authorities do you think you can get? Maybe like 3. Okay, but don't say 20 because you cannot get 20 top authorities at the bank. Human resource officials maybe like 2, and then other bank staff members maybe like if it is a branch maybe like 7. Don't say 30 because you cannot get 30 at a branch. Okay, at a bank branch, maybe if it's the headquarters. Okay, then the bank clients, if you get this plus this, that is 10, 13. 13 minus this is 227, is it? Let me first add and see whether it is true. Okay, so if I add, it's 240. Then after that, let's go this side. Now we have gotten the target population for each category. You can see that. Okay, so now how do you get the target population for these other ones? Okay, how do we get the target populations for these ones? Okay, I mean the sample sizes for these ones that we have here. So to get the answer here, you're supposed to get this one, divide by this, and then multiply by this. Okay, that is how we are supposed to be getting individual sample sizes. Okay, you get 3, divide by 240, multiply by 150, and then you get the answer here. You get 2, divide by 240, then multiply by 150, then you get the answer here. Okay, so those are the methods that you are supposed to go through whenever you are getting the individual sample sizes. So how do you do that? Let me bring my calculator here, and then I show you. Okay, so we are going to get, what is our calculator? It is here. We are going to get 3, divide by 240. The answer is that, multiply by 150. The answer is 1.8. When you round off, it becomes 2. So we are going to do what? We are going to put 2 here. Here it's going to be 1. Then 8. We're going to get 8 divided by the total of 240 multiplied by 150. The answer is 5. So we're going to get 5 there. Okay, this is 5. Then 227, we're going to get this one divided by this, multiplied by this. Okay, so let us go back to the calculator. 227. 227 divided by 240 multiplied by 150. The answer is 142 because you have to round off. Because remember, these are human beings, so you cannot take human beings in decimal, in points, decimal places. So this is 142. So let us first add and see whether you can get the same answer. So when we add, you can see that it gives you 150, and that is very good. Okay, so that's how we get these individual sample sizes. But these ones we estimated because I told you that the target population is an estimate. Okay, there is no method that we use to get the target population, but you have to estimate them. Okay, then down here we are going to say source primary data 2021, something like that. Okay, and then sampling techniques. How do you get the sampling techniques? Now, the sampling techniques, we have different sampling techniques. Okay, this one is going to be 3.4 because this one is 3.3. So 3.4 is going to be sampling techniques. Okay, sampling techniques. So which sampling techniques should we use? We are going to say 3.4.1 is going to be simple random sampling, and then 3.4.2 is going to be purposive sampling. Okay, and then if you want, you can as well add census sampling. Okay, but that one is only for those people who are studying from IIU. Okay, so but the most common ones are two, which is simple random sampling and purposive sampling. So those are the ones that we usually use. So how do we do this? Remember the other structure of ours. Okay, you're supposed to go to the internet. Okay, so the structure is where? The structure is here. You get it. Okay, let me bring it here, just like this. So the first one, you're supposed to state the item. The second one should be define the item. Third one should be explain the item. And then the last one should be give a justification. So that is the structure that you're supposed to go through. Okay, so how do you do that? You're going to start with simple random sampling by stating the item. So we're going to say that the study will involve the use of simple random sampling. Now we have stated the item. Let me even put it in capital in color red because that is stating the item. Now what is next? The next thing is defining the item. So what is the item here? Our item here is simple random sampling. So we are going to go to the internet and then look for the definition of simple random sampling. Okay, so let us go back to Google. Okay, where is our Google page? It is here. So we are going to come here and then look for the definition of simple random sampling, just like this. Okay, so we are getting the definition of simple random sampling, just like that. Okay, and then after that, if you want, you can, let me see, I can as well take this. Okay, remember I'm looking for the definition of simple random sampling. Okay, and then when you open, you can as well take this simple random sampling. Let me take another one. Let me take this one. Oh, if you want, you can as well take this one. Let me see this one. Simple random sampling. Okay. See, sampling. Okay, simple random sampling. I'm not seeing the definition. This one is taking so long to open. Is it open? Yes. Simple random sampling. Okay, select. Okay, I can as well take this. What is simple random sampling? So I'm going to take this. I've copied it. I'm going to come back to our work, and then I do what? I paste it there. Okay, just like that. So this is the definition. It should be in color what? Color green. Okay, then what is next? The next thing is what? The next thing is explain the item. So which people are we going to use to randomly select? Okay, the category of respondents that we are going to, on which we are going to be using this method. Okay, so we are going to come here, and then the categories that have good information, we are going to be using purposive sampling. Okay, for instance, top authorities, human resource officials, but these ones you can use random sampling because they may not have good information about our topic. The same applies here. Okay, so this is it. So meaning that we are using random sampling on two categories: on other bank clients, other bank employees, and then the bank clients. Okay, so we're going to come here and then we say that the researcher will randomly select other bank employees and then bank clients. Okay, so that means that we have tackled the third question, the third item, which is explaining the item. So we have stated the item, we have defined the item, and now we have explained the item. Then the last one should be giving a justification. So how do we give the justification? Justification is the reason why you're using this item. Okay, so you're supposed to give the reason why you're using simple random sampling. So how do you get the reason or the advantage of using simple random sampling? We're going to go back to the internet just like this. Okay, and then we look for advantages. If you want, you can search for importances or advantages. Okay, just like that. Now, after that, let me see which one can we use. You don't have to take very many things. Okay, just something like 1 point. Okay, for instance, lack of bias, simplicity. Okay, let's just take this one, lack of bias. So I've copied it. I'm going to go back to our work, and then I say, as the researcher, will use this method or this technique because, and then you put the reason there, paste there your reason, just like that. Okay, so this is the last part, which is the justification, and even put it in color black. Okay, so when you are doing this part, you're supposed to follow this structure. Okay, you're supposed to state the item first, define the item, explain the item, and then you give a justification. Okay, so those are the four things that you're supposed to follow whenever you're doing sampling techniques. Then after that, we are going to go to another item, which is purposive sampling. Okay, now for purposive sampling, you need to explain, you need to do the same thing. State the item, okay, define the item, explain the item, and then give a justification. So how do we state the item? We state the item by saying that the researcher will also use purposive sampling, just like this. So if you want, you can put it in color red because this is stating the item. Now, what is next? The next thing is defining the item. So we have to define what purposive sampling is. Okay, so we're going to go to the internet again, just like this, and then we search for the definition of what purposive sampling. Okay, just like this, and then we get the definition of purposive sampling. Okay, if you want, you can as well take this one. It's the same definition. So copy that definition and then come back to our work and then you paste it there. Okay, just like that. So that means that this is the definition and should be in color what? Color green. Okay. Now what is next? The next thing is supposed to be explaining the item. So you have to explain how many, which categories are going to use to purposely select using this method. Okay. Then you have to come back on the table here and then identify the first two categories. Okay. The other ones were for random sampling. You can see. But the first two, they are for purposive sampling. So we're going to say top authorities of Sarama Bank and human resource officials will be purposively selected. Okay, the top authorities of Sarama Bank. Okay, and the human resource officials will be purposively selected. Okay, so that is explaining the item. Okay, we have explained the item. Now, what is next? The other thing, the last one is what? Is giving justification. Why are we using this method of purposive sampling? Why didn't we use stratified? Why didn't you use census? Why didn't you use any other method? Okay, so we have to give a reason why we're using purposive sampling. Okay, so we start the statement by saying that the researcher will use this method because, and then after putting because, we are going to look for the justification of what? Of purposive sampling. Okay, we are remaining with 10 minutes, guys. If you have any questions, please feel free. You can ask me. Okay, in case of anything, you ask me. Okay, meanwhile, let us continue. If you have any questions, guys, please ask me. Okay, if there is something that you don't understand, please ask me. So let us look for the justification or the advantages of what? Purposive sampling. So we're going to go back to Google, okay, just like this, and then we search for advantages of purposive sampling, just like this, and then we should be able to get like only one. One is enough. You don't have to take very many of them, okay? Just one is enough. If you want, you can even take this one, okay? And then copy it, and then you come where? Here, and then we paste it there, just like this. Okay, this mode P. So that is it, guys. That is how you're supposed to be tackling that. Then after that, we are going to go to, we are done with purpose sampling techniques. Now let us go to data sources. Okay, but in case you have any questions, please ask me. In case there is something that you don't understand, ask me. So let us go to data sources. Okay, so this is 3.4. Therefore, the next one should be 3.5. Data sources. So under data sources, of course, we have two types of data sources. 3.51 is going to be primary data. Okay. And then 3.52 is going to be secondary data. So whenever you're going to do research, you have to make sure that you use both types of data, unless if you are doing statistics or economics. Okay, but in most cases, you are supposed to use primary data in some chapters and then secondary data also in other chapters. Okay, so let us start with primary data. Now, how do you do this? Remember, we are supposed to use the same structure. State the item, define the item, explain the item, and you do what? You give a justification. Okay, so let us start by stating the item. We're going to say that the researcher will use primary data, full stop. Now, that is stating the item. Okay, we have stated the item. We have said that the researcher will use primary data. Now, what is next? The next thing is, what is the next thing? The next thing is define the item. Okay, how do we define the item? We are going to say that the researcher, we are going to go to the internet and then look for the definition of primary data. Okay, so let us cross and go back to the internet, and then we're going to search for the definition of primary data, just like that. Definition of primary data, okay, and then we should be able to get the definition of primary data. If you want, you can as well take this. Let me take this. Okay, copy it, and then you come back here in our work, and then we paste it there. Okay, so this is the definition, should be in color green. Okay, what is next? The next thing is explain the item. So where you're going to get primary data, you're supposed to talk about the sources of primary data. So we're going to say that primary data will be obtained from questionnaires and interview guides. Okay, so those are the sources of primary data. Okay, this one should be in color blue. Okay, now what is next? The other one is justification. Okay, you're supposed to give the justification, the reasons why you're using primary data. Okay, you're going to say that the researcher will use primary data because, okay, now after putting because, you're supposed to look for like one advantage of this item. How do you get the advantage? We are going to go back to Google. Okay, just like this, and then look for advantages of what? Of primary data, just like this. Okay, just hold on a minute. Okay, then the advantages, you can be able to get one. You can as well open this or open this one. Okay, because you need just small things. Don't put very many things. Okay, you need small paragraphs, because this, remember, this is chapter 3, so you don't have to put very many things. So I can take this just like this. I've copied it. Then I'm going to come back to our work. Then I paste it there. Okay. Full stop. Then after that, we can go to secondary data. We also do the same. We are remaining 5 minutes, guys. Okay. So for secondary data, we are also going to do the same. You start by stating the item. We're going to say that the researcher will also use secondary data. Full stop. So I've started stating the item. Then the next thing should be defining the item. So how do you define the item? You're supposed to go to the internet and then look for the definition of secondary data. Okay, just like this. You come here and then look for the definition. Secondary data. Okay. Definition of secondary data, just like that. Okay, and then after that, if you want, you can as well take this one. Okay, let me take this, copy the definition, and then come back here, and then we do what? We paste it down just like this. Okay, so this one should be in color green because that is the definition. Then what is next? The other thing is going to be what? Explaining. So where are you going to get secondary data? We're going to say that secondary data will be obtained from internet, websites, library, journals, etc, etc, etc. So those are the sources. So we have explained where we are going to be obtaining secondary data from. Then the last item is what? Is justification. So you're supposed to justify why you're using this item. So why are you using secondary data? We are going to stop here and then we come back to the internet and look for the advantages of what? Of secondary data, just like this. Okay, so when you look for the advantages of secondary data, you can see that there are so many, but let me just take this. Okay, you can copy that and then come back here and then you do what? You paste it there, just like this. Okay, and then we can say that the researcher will use secondary data because it's very easy to access, something like that. So that is the justification. Now, if you have any questions, please ask me. There's something that you've not understood, please ask me. And if there are no questions, we are going to stop here. So let us resume again on Wednesday, same time, same place. If you have questions, please ask me. Is it Wednesday? I think Friday. Okay. If you have any question that you've not understood, please ask me, or you can even come here at my office and then you ask me face to face. Otherwise, let us stop here. Let us meet next time on Friday, same place, same time. Bye bye.